I never thought I'd be sharing this story. Not with anyone. But I can't keep it to myself anymore. And maybe writing it down will help me make sense of it all. Or at least convince me I'm not going crazy. I manage the night shift at Pete's Gas & Go. This rundown 24-hour place just off Route 16. Nothing special about it. We got your usual stuff. Snacks, cigarettes, energy drinks, and this tiny flower display my boss thought would class up the place. Most nights are dead quiet except for truckers passing through or locals making beer runs. I know pretty much everyone who comes in regularly. That's how small this town is. So when this guy started showing up, I noticed. For 6 months straight, like clockwork, this middle-aged man would pull up in a black Cadillac. Always spotless, always with those dark-tinted windows. He'd come in at exactly 2:37 a.m. every Wednesday. Not 2:35, not 2:40. Always 2:37. I mean, who does that? He wore these pressed suits that looked way too fancy for our dinky gas station. Never changed his order either. Black coffee, pack of those mini powdered donuts, and a single red rose from our flower display. Weird combination, right? But I figured maybe he worked nights somewhere fancy and had a girlfriend who liked roses. The weird part was how he never really talked. Just hello and thank you in this quiet voice. Always paid with crisp bills. Never seemed to be in a hurry, but never stayed longer than needed either. I didn't think much about him until last month. I was handing off to Sarah, the morning manager, complaining about inventory, and I mentioned Rose Guy. That's what I called him in my head. Sarah got this confused look. What roses? We never sell roses on my shift. I would know. I do the flower inventory every morning. I laughed it off, thinking she just didn't notice. But it bugged me all day. That night, I checked the sales records. Sure enough, no roses were ever sold during my shift. Not a single one in the system. I thought maybe I was ringing them up wrong. So I pulled up the security footage from the last Wednesday. And that's when things got real messed up. The footage shows the guy walking in at 2:37, just like always. But when he comes to the counter, I'm just standing there talking to no one. The coffee cup moves by itself. The donuts slide across the counter. Money appears out of nowhere and I make change for thin air. The rose floats into a bag that I hand to. Nothing. I watched it 3 times. Even checked different camera angles. Same thing every time. I couldn't sleep after that. Kept telling myself it was just some weird glitch in the system. Cameras mess up all the time, right? 2 days ago, this state detective comes in. Tall guy, tired eyes, shows me photos of 6 women who've gone missing in the past year. All disappeared on Wednesday nights. All last seen at gas stations along Route 16. That's when I remembered this lady from last month. Nice woman, stopped in for directions. She left right before Rose Guy showed up. I mentioned her to the detective, and he got real quiet, pulled out another photo. It was her. Last night was Wednesday. I almost called in sick, but I needed the money. At exactly 2:37, his Cadillac pulled up. This time, he had a slight smile on his face. Something about it made my skin crawl. The roses are sold out, I told him before he asked. It was true. We had none left in the display. He just kept smiling and said, "That's perfectly fine. I was wondering if you might help me outside with something in my trunk instead." His voice was so normal, so everyday polite. But the way he looked at me, like I was already in the trunk. I said I couldn't leave the register unattended. Made up some rule about company policy. He stood there for what felt like forever, just staring, before he finally nodded and left without buying anything. I quit this morning. The detective didn't believe my story about the security footage. Said it must be faulty wiring. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm just tired from all those night shifts. But it's Wednesday again tomorrow, and I won't be at that counter at 2:37 a.m. Been working nights at this highway gas station for a few months now. Just me, energy drinks, and podcasts to keep me awake while I save for community college. Nothing exciting happened until this tall guy started showing up. He'd come in between 2 and 3 a.m. when nobody else was around. Super tall with this gaunt face that reminded me of someone who hadn't slept in days. His eyes were sunken, like two dark holes watching everything. For a whole week straight, he never bought anything, just wandered the aisles real slow, picking stuff up, putting it back in wrong spots. Store policy said I couldn't kick out non-disruptive customers, so I'd just watch him through the security mirrors, this weird feeling crawling up my spine. My grandma would call it the heebie-jeebies. Sometimes I'd catch him staring at me with this faint smile, not friendly, more like he knew something I didn't. I started dreading the midnight shift, checking the door every time the sensor beeped. Last Thursday, he finally approached the counter. "Has anyone turned in a cell phone?" he asked, his voice higher and scratchier than I expected. I told him no, and he just nodded, looking both disappointed and weirdly satisfied before leaving. Next day, my coworker Jenny found a smartphone behind some chips in aisle 3. We charged it to look for contact info. There was no password. Big mistake. The photo gallery was filled with hundreds of pictures, all surveillance shots of gas station attendants behind counters at different locations. Several faces I recognized from missing persons reports shared on Facebook. My hands started shaking when we scrolled further. The newest photos were of me, not at work, but at home, sleeping in my bed, getting dressed, all taken through my bedroom window. Jenny called the cops immediately. That night, I crashed at my mom's place, double-checking every lock and window. Yesterday, police called with an update. They'd traced the phone's location history to an abandoned farm 5 miles away. It only moved at night, following a pattern that matched employee disappearances at gas stations along the interstate. When they raided the property, they found a hidden cellar containing uniform shirts from 12 different gas stations, each folded neatly with name tags still attached. The walls were covered with detailed work schedules, including mine for the past 2 months. The worst part? My apartment manager confirmed they hired a new maintenance guy 3 months ago, matching tall guy's description. Gave him keys to every building in the complex, including mine. I quit my job yesterday. They still haven't found him. Every noise makes me jump now. I'm staying at my cousin's place, changed my number, and never sleep with curtains open. But I can't shake the feeling he's still watching me, waiting, that faint smile on his lips. I was driving back from my cousin's place around 2 a.m. when my gas light started blinking. The empty highway stretched dark ahead, making me nervous about getting stranded. When I spotted a small 24-hour gas station glowing in the distance, relief washed over me. The place looked worn down, but I desperately needed gas and a bathroom after that large coffee earlier. Inside, a tired-looking man with dark circles under his eyes barely acknowledged me when I asked for the restroom. He silently handed me an old key attached to a wooden block, then slid a handwritten note across the counter. Knock 3 times before entering. "What's this about?" I asked. "Just do it," he mumbled. "It's important." I figured it was some policy to check if someone was inside, so I didn't question it further. The hallway to the bathroom smelled strongly of bleach mixed with something unidentifiable. Following instructions, I knocked 3 times at the door. Silence. I unlocked it and went in. The bathroom was surprisingly clean, but something felt off. The mirror was covered in tiny scratches, as if someone had taken keys to it. Inside the stall, my heart skipped when I saw words carved into the door. "Don't look up." Instinctively, I looked up anyway. Just a normal ceiling with a small ventilation duct. Probably kids playing pranks, I thought, trying to calm myself. After using the toilet, I washed my hands in ice-cold water. As I was about to leave, I heard it. 3 distinct knocks coming from inside the ventilation duct above me. My body froze. I stood motionless, barely breathing, listening. Then came a faint scratching sound, like nails on metal. I bolted out, nearly slipping on the wet floor. The clerk noticed my face and immediately asked, "You heard it, didn't you?" When I nodded, he explained that the previous night worker had reported the same knocks for weeks before disappearing during his shift. His car remained in the parking lot. "Police searched the place," he whispered. "The vent connects to a crawl space between walls. Someone had been living there. They found dirty clothes, food wrappers, even a makeshift bed. But they never found who it was." I paid quickly with trembling hands and left. In my rearview mirror, I saw the clerk step outside, glance anxiously at the roof, then hurry back in and turn off the lights. I drove home with doors locked, constantly checking my mirrors. Even now, months later, I think about those knocks at night. And I never ever look up in gas station bathrooms anymore.